for a good time. Make it a FirstWatt time. No way they use real whiskey in those shots. The FirstWatt F7. You know, I've never used a Past Labs amplifier in my system before because I heard them at shows, and I've heard them at two fellow audiophiles' homes as they tried them. And Nelson Pass does something absolutely magical when it comes to the mid-range that marries into the whole. Whew. Yeah, man, that was. Nelson Pass, hands down, knows how to make mid-range sparkle in the whole scheme of things. And I've heard this, like I said, at shows and at a few fellow audiophiles' homes when they had Past Labs amplifiers. But it's not something that I bother going to get to include in my system because I've never, I don't have any issues or there's nothing missing in terms of mid-range sparkle in my system. And it so happens that I've been digging into tubes for so long that I haven't been looking at solid state amplifiers as much. I always was very fascinated with the FirstWatt line of amplifiers. These very low wattage, a lot of them are Class A. It's a whole philosophy of that kind of speaks to me, which is a philosophy that made me sell my first high-end hi-fi rig that was very expensive to move out of that to get into more low wattage amplifiers. I wanted to play with the FirstWatt tube amps. I wanted to play with very high sensitivity speakers. And the philosophy of the FirstWatt, which if I could try to summarize it, is if you can't do it right with 1 watt, don't bother with the rest. Because it's just going to be an amplified version of that FirstWatt. Not an engineer, but it's an interpretation. So yeah, the whole FirstWatt gamut, I was very fascinated about all this. And once you know it, the one amplifier that I got the opportunity to actually get my hands on, thanks to AVX Audiophiles, James asked me, he says, "Hey, you interested? You want to try it? I'll reach out to Past Labs and ask them if I can ship it over to you." And it worked out.
And it glows a little bit green. You can probably see it behind me if you look down here where in my...
Green? Is it green? Okay, I'm partially colorblind, but that doesn't look green to me. It looks blue. Is it green? Dude, why would you say it's green? Okay, I need to get this story straight. I'm actually going to call James. All right, let's call James. I got to ask him about this. Hey, big man, how you doing?
Let me try to get I gotta get my damn, okay, there.
You don't need a camera. You don't need a camera. You don't need a camera.
There you go.
You don't.
Right, so just for transparency,
yeah.
I'm sitting down here in the main listening room. I've got a Jameson on the rocks, and my wife is over doom scrolling on her phone, and you're on speakerphone, so don't worry about it. It's
all right. Fine. Okay, I'll be completely polite. Listen, I was just looking at your video of the FirstWatt amplifier.
Yeah.
Great job as usual, man. I'm about 3.5 minutes in. But something's off here.
Okay.
I need you to explain to me what's green about that light.
Oh, you.
That's not nice, man. Don't say that. Like, I just want to understand. Like, people probably like miss context. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you were wearing like freaking polarized sunglasses or something.
I Past Labs. Never spoke, never met. But thank you for letting me play with this. This was very interesting. What do you know? I get to try. I think the first amplifier that Nelson Pass did not voice similarly to his other amplifiers. and actually voiced this to have a little bit more neutrality than his other products. I'm not saying this is something that errs on the side of neutral in terms of sound. I still find that there's definitely a luscious texture into the mid-range here. It's not overly warm. It's not in your face warm. It's not at all. Don't get me wrong. This is a very balanced sound. But yeah, once you know it, I got the one that's, airing more on the side of like higher resolution air than the traditional older FirstWatt and the other Past Labs amplifiers. But it's fine. It's good. I mean, it's Class A, 20 watts, right there. You had me at hello. I absolutely love 98% of sound signatures that come out of those two specs I just gave you with the speakers and the rest of my system. So I knew it would sound really good in my system, and it does. It really does. I mean, I can't find anything to critique. I just can't. It brings the music into the room, and it connects you with the music, just like a good amplifier should, and how it controls the speakers. So I went in to try it at my buddy Phil's house, and he uses a Prima Luna DAC. He has a Doge 8 preamp with fantastic tubes in it. And they're Mullards, actually. So I thought, Philip's system already has like a good amount of warmth coming out of the source and out of his preamp, which is contrasted by his Bowers & Wilkins 702 S2 speakers, which are not warm sounding, which are far more neutral and maybe more on the analytical side, mostly because of the way they treat their tweeters and handle their crossovers. But those are speakers that are capable of monster bass as well, if you feed them the power. So I thought it would be a fascinating experience to bring that over there, since it wasn't bringing too much in terms of warmth. And I thought, you know what? Might make for a nice romantic evening with me and Phil. So I brought it over, and as expected, it was a great result. It made his speakers sing with just 20 watts. I have to say, though, it took a good 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, for the amplifier to show its real nature, its true sound. Before it warms up, probably the time it takes for the capacitors to fill up and so on and so forth, we both looked at each other. I was like, what the heck? What? How is this possible? And first he looked at me and he was like, well, what's wrong with this amplifier? And I said, nothing's wrong. Like, it sounds great, actually. So I remembered, listen, it's funny. People think, oh, you got to let tubes warm up. Yeah, you got to let solid state warm up too. I said, let's give it a good 20, 25 minutes and we'll try it again. He said, well, why don't we just keep listening? I said, no. I said, that's going to be a gradual, it's going to change gradually to our ears, and it's not going to have the same effect. I said, so let's just stop. We stop listening completely, let it warm up, and we'll come back in 25 minutes or so. Sure enough, we went and made ourselves a little drink, played a game of pool, came back. What do you know? I was right. Once it warmed up, it was gorgeous. It made his speakers sing. It gave us everything we wanted. Gorgeous soundstage, great layers, smooth, buttery highs, nice present with a hint of warmth in the mid-range. Lots of detail. Great soundstage. You had a little bit of that wrap around the edges effect. And even though Phil's room is not overly treated, I kind of felt it. So anyways, it was a great match. It worked really well with the Bowers. Brought it back home, set it back up with my rig, with the full range drivers. And I started listening to Solo Blue by Abdullah Ibrahim. If you have not heard this album, you're welcome. I'm going to talk about how the 3 saxophones that play across this album sound just so good, engaging, and romantic. When this puppy was in my rig, yeah, this was really good. And guys, I was using my new concept baffles, the Ladybugs. Don't worry about the ladybugs. It's super secret. I'm not allowed to show you what they look like. Gonna make a full video on those in the future. Don't worry, I'm still working out the kinks, but this is gonna shock a few people. So the first saxophone is the tenor saxophone, which usually will play between that 300 hertz and 650 hertz. Man, this amplifier, if I had to come up with new modern audiophile lingo, it was like the notes in the air were like sticky honey because there was such a beautiful decay to the notes of the tenor saxophone. And all those notes, like I said, most of them are between the 300 and 650 hertz range. It was just divine. Like it hung in the air and it was always there. It was really, really pleasant to listen to. And then you had the contrast to that. Well, a bit more on the upper ends, like where I'll call it, then the notes got spicy when the alto saxophone came in, which plays a little bit higher in the frequency range. Oh my. This comes in complement. And there are times where the two overlap in the track. And it just comes and compensates that extra little bit, pushes that little bit of extra feel of air. Like this is where you got to feel like, I don't know, remember what that little piece of wood is called there that they have that they're blowing into. And that has that little shimmer. You could feel that so well. The FirstWatt was just bringing out those characteristics in a way that just made you melt in your seat and just want to take another sip. And on some of the tracks, then the third saxophone came in, the baritone. Yeah, the baritone. I got to tell you, at times that saxophone felt like it was playing at 50 hertz, 60 hertz. I'm sure it was probably between 100 and 150 and 500 hertz, most likely. But this is where all the deep, low body came in. And it was glorious. Made me forget about my day at work. Like I came and sat down and did this for 3 evenings in a row. After supper, kids were done, come down and just listen to that album. 3 nights in a row. That's how good it was. I really, man, I'm going to stop filming soon. I think I'm just going to plug this back in and I'm going to go back and listen to the album again since I just poured myself a nice glass of single malt. It's an Aberlour Abuna, by the way, for those of you who are whiskey fanatics. One of the most fun I've had listening to a solid state amplifier. It really is. Nelson Pass. Not that you need it, but awesome. Good job. Like, who am I to say this? But yeah, really cool. Really cool. When you listen to a piece of gear like this, and it's strange because I know of Nelson Pass. I have watched countless interviews with him. I've read up on him. I've read all his websites front to back, like the Pass Labs and the FirstWatt. It's like you know about someone, right? And you know about this character that exists in the world and the impact they have on their surroundings, on their field, like Nelson Pass has. And then when you wait and you wait and you wait, you're building up this momentum in your mind, and you're also building up expectation. And usually the more you wait and build up this expectation, the more I fear actually going to listen to their product, because it's kind of like the effect sometimes that you don't want to have is, I don't want to find out that Santa Claus isn't real. You know what I mean? But in this case, it was like understanding and having an evening with one of the legends of the hi-fi world. Yeah, legends. Nelson Pass. He's one of the legends of the hi-fi world right now. I don't care what anybody says. This man, through his products and his work, has influenced countless, and I mean countless amounts of other amplifier designers. Telling you, this guy is a true gift to our hobby. And it shows. You see the love, the passion, and what this person brings in his products when I listen to the F7. Listen, this is very simple. This was just an experience. I'm not calling this an actual review because Everybody else so far has reviewed this. They've all done an amazing job, and I agree with every single one of them. So this was about the only thing I really could add about the FirstWatt. If you want to know more, you want to know all the specs and all the jargon that goes into this, and you want to see inside the amplifier, there's many videos out there for you to see this. What I wanted to do is just bring you my experience, my emotions, and my whole thought process and reflection about Nelson Pass, having now gotten to know the FirstWatt F7. Thanks for tuning in. Now I gotta finish that whiskey. Oh, I think this is 120 proof. Oh, here it's 60.4% alcohol. Definitely add a bit of water to this. Oh. Man, I love you. Don't forget to subscribe.